Hello and welcome to Why We Are Christians. My name is Kent Philpott. I'm pastor of Miller Avenue Baptist Church in Mill Valley, California. And right over here is a new guy. Welcome to the county. This is Scott Martin. He's now the pastor of the Trinity Community Church.
You got it.
TCC.
That's it.
And I love that church. I've loved that for decades. And
Yeah.
I've known Ruben Sequeira,
Yep.
Will Nelkin.
Yep.
Will was one of the just before you,
Yeah.
Scott. I interviewed him here on
Awesome.
TV.
Awesome.
But anyway, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. So
Thank
glad
you
to
so
have you.
much. Thank you.
And so you gotta let everybody know. Okay, I know you're from Walnut Creek, but
I'm an East Bay guy. I've been in California my whole life, and specifically the East Bay. I grew up in Martinez, California for about the first half of my life. But I was born in Walnut Creek, as you mentioned. I'm a Christmas baby. And as a pastor that's born on Christmas, I don't believe in accidents. Although I know it's not his actual birth date. Probably not. But me and Jesus were like this. I was brought home in a stocking. They used to do that back in Kaiser back then.
really?
Yep, they did. My mom said, I don't know if she was fibbing with me, but she said, "You're the best Christmas gift I ever got, Scott." So yeah, I'm a quarter Swedish, quarter Norwegian, quarter Scottish, quarter Portuguese. So I'm kind of a hodgepodge of things. My mom's from Minnesota, came out here in her early 20s. My dad's been here his whole life. Originally, his grandparents from Portugal. And so here's where we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we met last week. We met your wife, Andrea.
Yes. Yes.
And we wanted her to be on the program.
Yes.
I know
did.
she couldn't because she
Yeah.
started a new job.
She did. Yeah, she's working at Dominican University. She's working.
That's right by your church.
It's a block away. We're on 1675 Grand Avenue. If you're ever looking for a church or just want to say hi, I'm happy to talk with anybody. But love it. It's a great church.
It is.
And my wife is a great woman. She loves God. She's always wanted to be a missionary, and always wanted to be a missionary doctor, actually. And so hopefully this job leads to maybe another job. She would like to work for the county here. Marin County, and maybe even right down the road here, there's a new building that they're putting up, and hopefully she gets to work there and work with those that are struggling and love on them. This is what she was born to do, so she's ready to do it, and she's doing that at the church as well.
And she's from El Salvador.
She is, yeah. She's from El Salvador. She was conceived in El Salvador, born here in the United States, and that was pretty interesting. Concord, California is where they came out.
Okay.
So parents were doing really well in El Salvador, and the whole guerrilla war kind of just took them out. They lost their businesses, they lost their careers, they lost everything. They went from that to like fast food workers in just a matter of days. It's just a terrible, terrible situation.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember the days I'd been in El Salvador when
Yeah.
that was going on.
Yeah.
And an awful experience.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to high school, Scott?
I went to Berean Christian High School in Walnut Creek, California.
Now, a Berean, is that a Christian school?
Yeah, it is. It is Christian school. It comes from that word, Acts 17:11. The Bereans, they were fact-checking Paul. They didn't just believe everything
That's right.
that was said. So they were approved workers of God. But yeah, so it's a Christian high school in Walnut Creek, California. I wasn't, always a believer in Christ. That kind of was my beginning of my starting point. But that's actually where I met my wife. I was a senior, she was a sophomore, and it was a pretty awesome time of my life being at that school. Really special.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So you have a bachelor's in liberal studies.
Yeah.
That did that make a liberal out of you?
I don't really get into the politics, because, wow, those are shaky grounds these days.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
Jesus works my politics out internally, We get close to Jesus, he'll work everything out. But yeah, I was a liberal studies major. Basically what that meant, that was the track if you wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And so that was a career that God just put it in my heart, and ended up on my very, very last little bit of the program. I thought I was going to work in the public school, and at the last moment I got a job offer, and I ended up working for a large Christian school in Concord. Got to work as a PE teacher for 10 years and a fourth grade teacher for 4 years. Ended up becoming the school's chaplain, and it was just a beautiful time of Christian ministry and time in my life. I loved it.
Wow.
And a coach as well. I coach all kinds of sports.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. It was fun.
So, how did you become a Christian, Scott?
That's a good question. So, my parents were believers. Especially because my dad was very rigid, I really wanted none of it. When I was a young kid, I kind of went along. Things were good. But I don't know. I don't know what happened, but something happened in me where I just didn't want any of it. And that kind of manifests, especially, we had a church that we went to for a few years. And it was just things were happening that weren't in the Bible, that aren't supposed to happen in churches. And it actually took me from not being that interested to like oppositional to God. And so long story short, I left the Christian school where I was at. I went to public school, just got into everything, got into the world in any way you can imagine, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And come to a time where I'm in high school now, 9th grade year at Alhambra High School in Martinez, California.
Okay.
I was making some real bad choices to the point where I was about to be kicked out of the school. And my girlfriend at the time was actually going over to Berean, not Andrea. I convinced my parents, and they basically said, look, this is like last stop for you if you don't, kind of shape up. We're not going to pay for some school in the future for you. If you're willing to do this, you're going to have to kind of get your act together. And I took their offer of grace, and that was the beginning point. About a year later from that point, my sophomore year, my Bible teacher gave us a project. He said, you need to share your testimony. How's a non-believer going to share their testimony? I lied to get into the school, said I was a Christian. I cut my hair to meet their standards, even got, got suspended from the school for shaving my, went from long hair to short hair, got suspended from the Baptist school for doing that. And that was pretty wild. But here I am now, my sophomore year, and I'm starting to come around on the whole God thing. I'm not there, but I'm starting to come around. And I go to my drug dealer neighbor 2 doors down, and I asked him, hey, can I share my testimony with you? He said, sure. So I shared my testimony that I don't have with him, and he listened. And then I realized that night, God was doing something as I'm sharing. I realized that night, I didn't go regularly to my youth group, but I realized there was an event happening at the youth group. It was called Radical Reality. They had these weights, they're ripping phone books in half, and they're like strong men, basically. And that night, I invited Andy to go to visit these guys, Radical Reality. I don't know what happened, Kent. I can't tell you. But at the end of the night, this guy who was sharing, the main guy, John Pritikin, he's a famous pastor. He goes kind of all over the world. He couldn't even speak just a few months before that, and God had restored his speech. And he shared that night, if anyone wanted to receive Christ. I don't know how it happened, but my hand went up. God came in here. I was not a crier. I mean, just weeping. And my drug dealer neighbor right next to me, the same thing. Hands up, we're weeping. We were touched by the Spirit of God. And God changed me that day. I don't know. I can't describe it. But from that moment forward till today, 30 years later, I know that Christ exists, and he came into my life and changed me and cleaned me up big time and helped me.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for that. You were 18 years old.
I was. Yep.
And you say your mom asked you?
My mother-in-law.
Why you weren't baptized?
Yeah, my mother-in-law. She kind of challenged me on it, that why aren't you baptized? And I thought, well, because I'm not ready. And I studied that a little bit and realized, no, we're supposed to repent and be baptized. And there's not, what Western Christianity ends up doing is kind of get baptized when you feel like it, and some never do. And so, of course, I think we should know what we're doing, but I just was ignoring that, and I got baptized shortly after that conversation with 2 of my best friends my senior year of high school. It's a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Powerful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at age 18.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened after that? You graduated from high school.
Yeah, graduated from high school. My youth pastor at the time I was deathly afraid of doing what we're doing right now, talking in front of public, doing any of that kind of stuff. And he said, hey, about midway through my senior year, he said, hey, Scott. His name was Frank Alioto. He's serving up in Alaska now. He said, hey, Scott, I'd like you to be the junior high director for our church. We went to Hope Center Covenant Church, Covenant denomination. And I thought, whoa, that's pretty awesome. And so I prayed about it and felt like the Lord wanted me to do it. Did that. But he also challenged me, learn public speaking. He'd record me with a camera. I went over to DVC, which is a junior college just a few minutes down the road. Learned how to do public speaking and realized I like this. This is fun, but it's especially fun. I got a especially kick out of it when I was sharing about the Lord.
Sure.
Just an extra something was there that I didn't have before that I wanted to share my faith with people. And Frank helped me do that and grew that. I ended up I got my AA at DVC and then ended up getting my bachelor's at Cal State Hayward. And then I started teaching after that. But ministry, right out of the gates, just doing a lot of ministry.
Now, what teaching where?
Tabernacle Christian School on Deckinger, which is on the corner of Treat Boulevard, right by Concord High School. School of about 500. Big school. Not a lot of, it wasn't like just all believers there. So that was fun for me too, because as a newer believer, I started teaching at 24. It was really fun for me to share my faith with those that were believers, non-believers, families that were believers, weren't believers, and just have like a staple in the community. It was really a sweet time.
What subjects were you teaching?
I taught PE for 10 years, fourth grade for 4, taught Bible a little bit, did some electives, ended up being the chapel teacher there as well.
Okay. Now I know you've been coached too.
Yeah, I was a coach. Yep.
What sports?
I coached soccer, high school soccer at Berean, my alma mater where I graduated. But I also began in track there for a little bit. But I also began coaching at Tabernacle. So I coached soccer. I coached volleyball.
How did friends and family react? Did you get any pushback?
Yeah. You know, I think because I was at a Christian high school, I don't want to say it was a bubble, but it was a little bit. But I definitely got pushback from some friends, and God was calling me to separate from darkness. I was too new at this. You know, I recognized that I needed to step away from a lot of my previous lifestyle. And so I did get a little pushback. As I became a young adult, I had a group of friends, and we all went to church together, but kind of nominal believers, really just totally partying, doing all kinds of stuff, and kind of were Christians. And I felt deeply that God didn't want me to do that, but I kind of ignored that. I ignored that check in my spirit and just kind of kept going on with it. But eventually, the Lord pulled me out of that. One of my friends used to kind of refer to me as, even as he's a Christian, by the way, would refer to me as Mother Teresa. That hurt.
Mother Teresa.
It hurt because I wasn't trying to be some, guy that's not trying to have any fun or anything like that, or whatever you want to call that. But I recognize for me to go where God was taking me, you can only give what you have. You can't give any more. And God was calling me to a different standard. And obviously I see it now. It was a pastor's call, but I didn't see it at the time. I kind of had to faithfully go through the steps of ministry. And yeah, that was painful. I had to purge some friends, and then when I got healthy enough, I could go back and minister to them, love on them, and
Sure.
So.
Now you also you brought up the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a scoreboard operator, and I could have even signed up this year, 2024 here.
Really?
Yeah, but I was a scoreboard operator from the year 2000 all the way till just, the past year. And that was just a fun job. I mean,
I bet that was.
What a fun job. You get to change the name, the names and the team names and the numbers, the inning. It was really fun. Got to be in Sports Illustrated on the pennant race in 2000, newspaper articles and things like that. But that's not even the point. The point was just being there, the crack of the bat, the popcorn, watching a ball game. It's so much fun. And And God's got such a sense of humor, I think, about it. I was even able, one time, we went on a mission trip to Mexico. I counted up all the out-of-town scoreboard, the homers that went over the fence. I got to collect these balls for a little bit before they were, cracking down on all of that. And even I think I got permission to do this. And I took those balls down, these home run balls down, to give them to kids in Mexico. And then use a little Spanish I was learning to, share the gospel, give them a ball. Treat. It was such a fun time, and I'm going to miss the A's. I hope they don't leave. If you're watching A's, don't leave.
I don't want them to leave either.
I know.
They've been through some tough times with some great teams,
Yeah.
some great managers, some great players.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to, the days when the A's and the Giants would go at each other.
Oh, the Battle of the Bay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Battle of the Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, many times over at the Coliseum.
And people are trying to bring me currently. They're like, in San Rafael, you're in Giants territory. And I'm like, hey, man shall not serve two masters. Either we hate the one or... So I bring it back. I'm like, I'm always going to be an A's fan. I can love the Giants too, but that's my first love. So I can't abandon my first love.
I got a bunch of A's uniforms at my house.
Very good.
When we started the second team at San Quentin Prison.
Oh yeah.
And the Oakland A's gave us. Katie and I went over to the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And the A's people loaded a big van up with all of the uniforms and equipment, and I still got a lot of it.
Good job, Ace. I used to stump the kids in my class. I said, the Giants fans, I'd trap them. 4th grade, I said, hey kids, what team do you root for? Or excuse me, I said, what grades do you go for in school? We go for A's, Mr. Martin. That's right, you do. I knew you loved the A's. We'd have a little fun. That's not what I meant.
Okay, Scott, now tell us a little bit about how you met your wife.
Yeah. So we met in high school sweethearts. I was a senior. She was a sophomore. And, I know the whole young love, first love, people don't really kind of buy into it. But I'm a big believer that God brings people together. And I totally believe in young love, especially young love that's rooted in Christ.
Yes.
And so something happened. I was a brand new believer just for a few years. She was a brand new believer. A couple had paid for my wife, who'd gone to public school all her life, a couple in her church that didn't even send their own kids to Christian school, scholarshiped her. God put it on their heart, scholarshiped her. And then all of a sudden, here she comes. And I see this, it was kind of a mostly white school at the time. It's totally more multi-ethnic now. But in walks this gal, and I just saw her. I was stunned, but I was a Christ follower. That was most important to me. And so God did something. He put two equally yoked people together. We're together, The weird part, though, is when I got hired on at the church afterwards, and she's still in high school. We had to cut a little time out, and we went back to dating after after she graduated high school.
Okay.
So wonderful lady.
Yeah, we met her, Andrea, and you. What is she doing now? She was going to be with us, but she couldn't. She's
working today.
She's working at Dominican.
She's working at Dominican, hoping to land with the county.
Now that's a Catholic Christian university.
Yeah, I think more by name. They would even tell you that they're not. There are the sisters that live there, sweet ladies. I've met them. I go on a lot of prayer walks, walk around. Very sweet. Yeah. Very sweet. And I love God a lot. But they're not a Christian college at all. They're secular. Right. But there's still that roots that are there. So.
And also, she's in the medical field.
Yeah, she just finished, graduated from Samuel Merritt as a DNP, FNP. She's not an MD, but she's a doctor, and hoping to latch on here in San Rafael to serve the people here, which will be maybe people that she ends up serving at the church. Sure. So, and I just believe every church should be doing that. The church is the hands and feet, and we should be, equipping the secular field out here, and Christians should be involved like Paul was in the marketplace and everything. And so I'm just proud of my wife and for what she's doing at the church and also in the community. And she's one of our pastors. She's a one of our pastors.
Okay,
she's a lay pastor at our church.
Well, I can see her as a pastor in pastoral ministry. Oh,
thank you.
She's good.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You bet. Now, you guys have a son.
We have a son. His name is Noah. He goes to William Jessup. It's called Jessup now. It's up in Rockland, California.
Rockland, where's that?
Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento. Okay.
Yep, he's a singer. So he's got a scholarship as a bass singer. He's great. They have a wonderful choral team of about 80 people. It's incredible.
Wow.
It sounds like, I mean, heaven's music. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm just so proud of him. He's a biology major, like the name might indicate. He loves animals. He wants to be a vet one day. Maybe he'll open up a place called Noah's Ark. You never know. But we love him. And he likes to practice on our dogs at home, Lola and Honey.
Oh, you got 2 dogs. I met one of the dogs.
Yeah, Teacup Chihuahua, who's shouldn't be on the greeting team at church, and our Golden Doodle, who should be on the greeting team at church. She's just a wonderful, perfect for Marin dog.
Yeah, okay. Wow. So here you are. You're now at Trinity Community Church.
Yeah, I got the baton passed to me by Mr. Will Nelkin.
Oh, is that what? Let me see that.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, we had this. So this is a baton, huh?
That's the baton.
So he actually
He actually passed it to me a few weeks ago on January 28th.
in front of everybody.
In front of everybody. And I told him, I made the joke. I said, this is good news because I was a 4x100 relay guy. I wasn't the guy to start, so I never started the baton. I was always usually second or third. And so, yeah, I guess in the case of, we've only had 2 pastors that have really gone for a long time at Trinity. That would be Ruben, who you mentioned, Sequeira, and Pastor Nelkin. So I guess maybe I'm third on the leg here. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I remember and I want to honor Pastor Will of the work he did.
A great guy. I've known him for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to honor the work that he did. And I told him, it is a perfect analogy, the 4x100. At the end of the day, we don't get caught up in this person, the first or second or third. It's like I'm building upon the work that was gone before me. And I pray that I'm able to run the race successfully and add to his legacy, but ultimately add to Christ's legacy.
Right. Well, that's incredibly great, Scott. So as you look back in all this process,
Mm-hmm.
anything stands out for you?
In the process of becoming a senior pastor?
Yeah, and now here you are.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
I feel really good. I never had a desire to be a senior pastor. Never. Yeah. I was totally content being almost like a Jonathan, or a shield bearer, a good number 2, maybe a number 3 at some times. I never had a desire to be a senior pastor, but God called me to do this. So I think that's what's most important, that God has brought me to this place at this time, and we feel called. I mean, I'll just tell you something I think is very prophetic, that my great uncle Ross, he was the concrete layer of this bridge here, the San Rafael bridge. I don't know if he was the only one, but for me, as an East Bay guy, that's East Bay. It's on the other side of that bridge.
Yeah.
I don't know Marin much. God called me to a place I don't know, but I'm so thankful that He called us here. I'm so thrilled we actually live on the property. I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and I'm just excited to meet all the Marin pastors, to meet the community. I'm in love with this place. And I kind of made the joke, my last name is Martin. This is Marin. Put a T in the middle, that's the cross, and we got Martin County.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And even down to the initials, San Rafael, Marin, Scott, Raymond, Martin is my initials.
Now, I'm going to change this.
Please, go ahead.
Change this around a little bit.
Change it
Scott.
up.
We're just going to do this one program.
Okay.
Because I want to finish and put together something really good at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what is your favorite Old Testament book?
My favorite Old Testament book, I think I probably put Genesis down there.
And then / Exodus.
Oh, yeah. I just love those books. When we went to Israel, we were told you need to read basically from Genesis to, a few chapters down, most of the Torah, not the entire thing, the first 5 books, But I just love the story of Genesis, the roots of the country of Israel, the calling of Abraham, of course Noah and Genesis 6, and there's so much there of trust, and even when we get to Exodus, we think about Egypt, people being called out. I don't know. I just love those books. They're so rich, and I find myself in the story of the Israelites. I find myself in the stories of the people being disobedient, or at times being obedient, like Abraham at times was.
Wow.
So there's so much there, and actually going to the land several times. It's deeply personal, these books of the Bible.
Yeah.
They're not just kind of abstract, and they're deeply personal for me. So of course it's hard to nail one book. I love them all.
How about New Testament?
We're currently in a series on the book of John, as I believe your church is as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, during this season, I probably would have answered differently a few years ago, but right during this season, I think it's John. I just see such a heart of understanding who Jesus is, and also the miracles of Christ and all these different things. Man, I just love the book of John.
Now you also, it's another slashing, you like the book of Acts?
Oh, that's right. I do love the book of Acts because I feel like it's what the church was doing, the doing of the gospel, versus just we're believing and we're kind of back in the shadows a little bit. It's the Lord has gone up, the Holy Spirit's come, and like myself when I was 15 and my wife when she was 14, it's wow, God's given us something. We got to go do it. Let's go. An excitement in the air. And so I love the book of Acts. These people that were just totally, I don't want to say chickens totally, but in a way they were without the power of the Lord. God brought them the power, and they went out and did all that He called them to do. And it's real fun to watch.
Favorite life verse?
I'd have to just stick quickly with two of them. Numbers 6:24-26. It's the priestly blessing. May the Lord bless you, keep you, make His face shine upon you, be gracious towards you. May He make His face shine up, may He turn His face towards you and give you peace. In Hebrew, it's Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha, Yichonecha, Yisa panav elecha, v'yasim lecha shalom. And my life verse is Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah.
Which is, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future.
Wow, Scott. So now, do you speak Hebrew?
I took a quarter of Hebrew. I'm in a Master's of Divinity program right now, where we're about to pick a language, whether it's Hebrew or Greek. I've chosen Hebrew. So at some point in the next few months, I'm going to start my Hebrew classes, which I'm real excited about.
Now, where are you going to school at?
It's SUM. It's a kind of quite a mouthful, but it originated from Louisiana and Oakland, and now it's in El Dorado Hills. It's a theological seminary, and it's all around the world. There's 44 campuses. So Pastor Will and I, that's where we met. That's where actually he saw me, kind of picked me out a little bit. That's where it started.
Wow. All right. Well, we got to come to a conclusion here. Scott Barton, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pastor of Trinity Community Church.
Thanks,
in
brother.
San Rafael, California, in one of the nicest parts of San Rafael, Dominican area. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Scott, for being on this program. It was wonderful. And now, so be looking for programs Why We Are Christians. You can go to milleravenuechurch.org and find this program, and it'll be on television. And so thanks for being with us. So long.